Nigerians are still reacting to the face-off between the FCT Minister Wike and the Naval officer, with opinions sharply divided across political cycles, the civil society and the social media. Military veterans and some political leaders have condemned Wike's conduct as disrespectful, while defense officials insist the naval officer acted within lawful orders and deserves protection. As public debate continues, Wike says the focus should now shift to reinforcing discipline, ensuring order, and preventing similar crashes in the future. Now, joining us for this conversation is a lawyer, Babayemi Olaniyan. Good morning. Thanks so much for joining us on the program. You saw what transpired, the back and forth arguments, the counter arguments from Wike to the naval officer. What do you make of all of this development? Is it a case of professionalism at this time, or what exactly is happening?
We can say it's not really about professionalism. It's a situation of Wike feels things were not done properly, and I want to attempt to correct those things. And then a private individual has his land and wants to protect his land. So at that point of enforcing and doing the right thing and protecting your right to land, that is where the clash has now occurred. So that's where we are. The clash between doing the right thing for Mr. Wike and right to own land for the former naval officer.
Okay, welcome, and good morning, lead partner Lehi Attorney. It's nice to have you here. Thanks for joining us. So now, with regards to the land now, we've had several cases of land disputes while Minister Wike has been in office, right? Some people complain, okay, fine, the way they revoke certain rights and properties and things like that. So people are talking about process. The word we've definitely heard a lot of times. It's not enough for ministers to actually go to a land and say, okay, fine, we're revoking your land. So now what would you say? I mean, as a legal practitioner, is the right process to have gone through to avoid situations like this? Okay,
so the Constitution is, the Land Use Act is clear about revocation of land. Section 28 provides for when the minister can revoke land, right? And there are certain criteria or certain parameters by which a minister can revoke land. Primarily is for public interest, right? So if it's for public interest, for example, the government wants to build a school, an hospital, or a road, then it can revoke land. But so Section 44 of the Constitution says no right or interest in land shall be forcefully taken off. So nobody can forcefully take away your interest in immovable property, which is land. So as far as that's concerned, everybody has a right to protect their land, and you cannot just forcefully take over somebody's land. And that's why we also have our courts, right? The courts are there to declare a person the owner of the land or otherwise, right? So you don't just go and take someone's land.
So what is the process? What did due process have looked like in this case?
It would have been a situation where the minister would maybe interface with the disputing parties, because the story is that the land was given, they applied for change of use, it was rejected, it was not approved, and then parties, and then the naval officer started developing the land, right? So we have to now check the documents. Who is the owner of the land, right? That's number one. Did he get building approval? Is that land a residential land or a commercial land or a parks and garden land? Now, if it's a parks and garden land, you cannot build structures on parks and garden land, right? So after that, you now call the parties and say, okay, this is stop development. Or if the parties are still fighting, they go to courts. And that's why we just keep saying, go to courts, right? Go to courts and enforce your rights.
But Wike has been talking about the right documentation for this land, which he has ascertained at that press conference that they don't have the right document. But a lot of Nigerians are talking about the confrontation. Where lies the executive power? Section 5, subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution states, as amended, states that the executive power of the Federation shall be vested in the President and may be exercised by him either directly or through Vice President and ministers of the government of the Federation. So a lot of people are querying that why will there be that kind of confrontation from Wike to them? Why not call the superior officer before you just move out there to confront the naval officer?
So, two things. Did he know that it belonged to a naval officer? That's number one. But number two, that would have been proper thing for him to have called the naval officer, right? Or call those in that are still in service and say, okay, this land, But again, the minister came and said that General Obasanjo, former president of Nigeria, had called him before. General T.Y. Janjima had called him before. So maybe he was expecting a call from.
I'm talking about executive powers here.
Yes.
The right Wike has to move on that land to challenge what exactly is happening.
Yes, he has the right. So Section 11 of the Land Use Act says that the minister or the governor has the right to inspect land. Right. So he has the right to go into any land and carry out inspections.
So now, can we call this particular action an inspection, considering the fact that, I mean, his boys were already on the land before they now called him that, okay, they're not allowing us to get on the land. And of course, even recently, we see a video of Wike's trucks being moved and people hailing and all of that. So now, would we say, okay, this was just an inspection? So would it have been a reason why the Navy could have probably gotten kind of like on the edge and realized, saw it necessary for them to protect the land?
Yeah, so we can, there are two angles to look at it from. We can say it's an inspection, or we can say it's not an inspection. But the general idea of Minister Wike is that he goes to go and take over people's land, whether illegally or whatever. But yes, we can still say that due process was not followed, right? But yes, the minister has the right to go and check that, but he cannot just enforce. He cannot enforce such processes without following the due process of law and without a valid court order. You can't just go and take over someone's land, because even squatters. So our laws even protect squatters. So, for example, if someone sees a house now and gets into the house, starts living in the house,
because
you can't just go get in and just
because possession is the major,
right? The person is in possession, right? Whether rightly or wrongly. The next thing you now want to do is to ensure that you follow the proper processes for eviction of the person. You can't just go and take over, and that's why the law frowns against self-help. You can't just go and even if your tenant, if his rent has expired, you can't just go and yank him
out. True.
You must follow the right process.
Let's look at the mode of operation and the way we can confronted the naval officer. How would you describe that, using those words on him? And a lot of people have been saying, no, the minister he shouldn't have raised his voice on him, and the response coming from the naval officer.
I think it was just a transfer of aggression. So first of all, according to the minister, his officers had gone there and they had beaten them up. So when I was
allegedly,
and then in my head, I now said, okay, imagine that someone had a child and the school teacher beats your child. The first thing that the parents would do is to rush to the school and go and start throwing tantrums, right? But this is a public official. He was channeling his aggression to the wrong person, because Yerima was acting on instructions, and in the military you obey the instructions of your superior. So it's a situation of wrong transfer of aggression to the wrong person. And he used
a superior that is retired?
It's still his superior.
Okay.
Now, so even in the military, they have officers that are attached to them, right? So they are still their allegiance is to those officers and to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So if the officer has said, "Go and stay here," right? He's within his right to stay in that place.
Okay. So let's talk about now the implication of Minister Wike's conduct.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people are saying, okay, fine, the officer was in his uniform, and that by implication actually we're talking disrespect to the person of the president, who is the commander-in-chief of Africa. So let's have your thoughts and comments on that.
Yeah, so Mr. Wike is speaking to the officer in his uniform. I think it's very wrong, because every officer of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is acting there as the president, right? So the president is the commander-in-chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, right? So once you see any officer in that camouflage, right, that camouflage is part of the emblems of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and everybody is expected to respect those officers. So be it police, NSCDC, Army, Navy, you are expected to respect. So it can be.
Is it because it's coming from Wike? That's why you're saying this is a disrespect to the Army in general? Is that what you're saying? No. Because we see cases where some of these officers sit down together, abuse each other, and no one is taking that up. That is a disrespect to the men in the uniform.
Well, so context is always where the issue is, right? So
because that's the narrative that a lot of people are painting at the moment. That because Wike said those words to him is a disrespect to the men in the uniform in general. Why is it say that at this time when the nation is still battling insecurity, there's strong threat and the likes?
Yeah, I understand, but then you cannot still take away the yes, what he said to the man in uniform is wrong. Let us not mince words about it. It's wrong, right? And it's I still believe it's an affront on the president because he was in uniform, right? The issue of whether it was a lawful duty or not is different. At that point in time, he was in his uniform, he was on duty, and then he must be respected at that particular point in time. You can now subsequently report him to his superiors that, oh, he was on an illegal duty, right, and all that, but not to confront him, someone that is taking instructions, from his superiors.
Okay, so now speaking about illegal or legal duty, now there's a lot of controversy, of course, with the fact that the person that gave that order is a retired chief of naval staff, right? Now, is it a situation, do you think it's a situation of impunity versus impunity? Yeah, of course, maybe because it's Wike, everybody's used to his tantrum, so whenever he does anything, it's like, okay, fine, he has done this, right? However, on the part of the Army, now, of the Navy now, my question will be that naval officers guarding land, is that correct?
Now, so the Navy...
I mean, we're talking about security.
Yes.
Situation. Of course, we're talking about Trump. We're talking about all of that is happening. We're talking about, terrorists in Nigeria and all that. So now, having the number we have on that particular land, when we need the force guarding the nation, which is actually their primary duty there now, how would you address that?
So I'll pick up from the first thing you said, impunity versus impunity, right? So, but then again, when you have officers that are attached to you, right? They're attached to you and to your belongings, your family, and all that, right? So they have a right to protect, right? And so now the first question in top of my head is, are those officers attached to him by virtue of the position he held, or were those just officers that were just deployed for the sake of protecting the land as it is?
Okay.
Right. So the different contexts will now determine. But I mean, he at that level is entitled to officers, retired or serving. Right, so he can deploy his officers to, okay, my property is here, I'm doing something here, or maybe it's there, stay with the land, right? But that is not the primary function of the Nigerian Navy. That is not their primary function. I think Section 217 of the Constitution talks about what Navy functions and Navy duties are. Maritime space, territorial waters, that is the function of the Nigerian Navy, not guarding land.
What do you make of this issue of a police officer about protecting just one Nigerian, and you have ordinary Nigerians walking on the streets and dying, and there are no protections for them? What do you make of this? Because you see a politician will have like 6 police officers protecting him and his family.
I mean, it's the same song we've been singing over and over, that no one will feel like government is too expensive, right? And then the common man does not have enough security. And then there's always the argument that, oh, there are not enough policemen. But I don't think that's true, because if you have 4 policemen guarding one man, how many more policemen are left? Right? So we need to look at that the whole security architecture. Because aside the policemen that were there were DSS officials also there, right, guarding one man. Right. So
it's a fine place to live. We hope that everything will die down anytime soon, so that peace can reign, Wike can